Welcome to the presentation on self-love. In this deep dive, we explore the true meaning of relentless self-love, the secret sauce of all aspiring self-masters. The essence of self-love is awakening a deep willingness to meet ourselves where we are. However, many of us have been taught to practice self-love without knowing who we truly are. In order to discover our inner reality, we must first become aware of all the aspects of ourselves that are not imperfect, but perfect. I say this because there is always room for improvement, but we also must be cognizant of the fact that each and every emotion represents a new beginning in the paradigm of our inner self-acceptance. We must not look for things to fix, rather things to celebrate. The barriers that prevent us from finding ourselves can be summarized by the following. The belief that our emotional state is incongruent with what we are meant to be feeling. In neglecting our emotional state through spiritual micromanaging, we negate the gifts inherent in depression, sadness, confusion, and the unresolved emotions that serve to liberate our highest potential. Another barrier to self-love is the belief that we are meant to be experiencing a different set of life circumstances. This reinforces the belief that we are to blame for the lack of shiny new things in our life. The recesses of shame in our psyche are impenetrable to our attempts at reconciliation. Only when we approach them with genuine curiosity and compassion may they open up to our love, and only on their time, might I add. A lotus only blooms in the mud. We heard this earlier in the program. Here we will dive deeper into this analogy. The mud is the proverbial feces of life from which flowers bloom. While the mud itself may seem revolting, it also contains the minerals, nutrients, and vitamins necessary for plant growth. While the allure of photosynthesis may capture our imagination, it is not only the light that makes the sweet nectar of life. Only in combination with the muck does an alchemical process of transformation occur. To neglect the mud as a budding lotus is to cut ourselves off from the very source of our personal transformation. Only when the beauty of the mud is respected can we fully blossom. While this may not be too pleasing to the ego, only through our distaste for the shit of life do we come one day to appreciate it. When we fully acknowledge this proverbial substrate for its beauty, we no longer have to do anything that will hold us back from our growth. Rather, we acknowledge everything that comes our way as a sign, as a signal of the impending growth that allows us to blossom to our full potential. Consider this. When you are in the midst of pain, you are the only one who hears your cries. This may be shocking, nauseating, confusing, or frustrating, but it is a source of deep personal liberation when fully embraced. Only you have the power to save yourself, to soothe yourself, to nurture yourself through this personal growth experience. While we all need a support team, the encouragement of others can often serve as a distraction to the abundance of love we have to show ourselves. Relying on others is a diffusion of personal responsibility. Only you are responsible for you and no one else. We cannot force the movement into a deeper connection with self-love. As one who has tried this shortcut through my awakening journey many times, there really is only one option: to surrender to the fire that burns away all but the most beautiful aspects of your soul. Now, here's a little pro tip. If you start to recognize everything as a beautiful aspect of your soul, the burning no longer hurts. It's simply the heating up of infinite potential that can be released into the depths of your earth walk. In practical terms, what this means is when you're no longer fighting yourself, all of a sudden, this process of what can feel like death becomes quite a liberating and powerful experience by which we reintroduce ourselves in human form to the potential of what we have to offer the world in service and communion. One of the most empowering methods is to surrender. One of the most empowering methods of surrender is to communicate with your most vulnerable emotions. No longer do you run away from the aspects of self that wish to help you grow, whether by comfortable or uncomfortable means, but you fully acknowledge their divinity and their role in your growth. Take 5 minutes right now to identify an emotion that provokes strife within you. Sit with this emotion. Invite it to communicate with you. When you are finished, reflect on what you have learned. Welcome back. Tell me, what are the gifts inherent in this experience? What did you learn about this vulnerable emotion? Truth be told, that's it, folks. We have to work through this process readily in the face of every aspect of adversity that invites us into greater communion with our true divine potential. Don't stray from the path before you. It leads you home, and allow it to draw you in no matter how uncomfortable or scary it may seem. Another powerful step in awakening authentic self-love is to realign your self-expectation. When you realign self-expectation, you make huge leaps in regards to unraveling the shame and guilt inherent in not feeling enough. Consider the top 3 expectations you have for both your professional and personal life. How can they be altered to reflect the depth of maturity inherent in self-love? What restrictions can be eased so that they more fully represent where you're at? Sit with this for a few moments. Ultimately, we can awaken all the necessary tools of self-regulation to make this process smoother and still be met with the same challenges. Self-love is not a tool for self-avoidance. It is a tool of self-engagement. By allowing life to strip us of the barriers between our authentic selves and our imaginary identity, we awaken true love. Thus, hold on tight. Turbulence is ahead. The fasten seatbelt sign is on. Your landing may not be perfect, but you are guaranteed to arrive at the gate of liberation. Remember this quote: "You will never be completely at home again because part of your heart will always be elsewhere." That is the price you pay for the richness of loving and knowing people in more than one place. We must remember that the journey home to this reunion is fraught with peril, with treacherous slopes, angry bears, and wild beasts. This is the price we pay for the richness of loving and knowing people in more than one place. We are meant to share love on this planet. Self-love is the luxury afforded to those who wish to serve and share. If you seek to love yourself, commit to service. Become your greatest version through service, rather than becoming your greatest version in order to serve. Only when we acknowledge the beauty inherent in our strife does the potency of safety awaken within our every breath, a potency that knows no circumstance or arena, but only the humble abode of your true divine heart space. Thank you for joining me in this wild ride to self-love, and remember, as you communicate with your most vulnerable emotions and readjust self-expectation, you will make great leaps in awakening the depth of self-love that you have always been capable of living by, aligning by, and embodying for the benefit, well-being, and ascension of all. Enjoy.